Hey everybody, it's me, Andy.
And I'm Sean.
And this is the Commander's Brew.
This week, 1DH.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 115 of the Commander's Brew. What's going on,
yes.
Sean? How are you?
I am great. Thinking about budgets, thinking differently. Yeah. It's awesome.
Yeah, because this episode is all about 1DH.
Yeah. What is 1DH? We'll get to that.
Tell
you. Once we tell you that our show is brought to you by the Wizard's Tower, brought to you by Ultimate Guard, sleeves and boxes, and playmats too, I should say. Brought to you by you, the patrons.
Is that a fun song?
It's supposed to be like, imagine like, like the more you know star going across. I just imagine some kind of graphic like, and the patrons, like some kind of like graphic.
You should put that together and then we can use that graphic on our YouTube channel.
Oh my God. I'll try at the end. Yeah.
Do you want to do the Wizard Tower ad right away?
Yeah, why not? Let's just deal the business off the top. We got a Brew and Brawl coming up last Sunday of the month, October 29th. We're going to stream every Wednesday at 2 p.m. Toronto time. Let's hit that ad.
Hi, I'm the dodo bird, extinct on Earth plane, but here on Ixalan, I'm thriving as merely endangered. Let's be real, my chances aren't that great, seeing as how there's a bunch of dinosaurs and stuff here, but the fact that the dinosaurs aren't extinct gives me hope. It's nice to not be extinct someplace. While I'm around, I think the most important lesson is, you don't know what you have till it's gone kind of thing. Well, on Earth plane, we don't exist, but here we do, so let's make the most of every moment. Stop and smell the roses. Call your parents. Shop for magic singles at the Wizard's Tower, wizardtower.com. Singles $15 or more shipped free to Canada or the US, where we are extinct, or in the Canada or US of Ixalan, if that's where you're from. And you might as well use coupon code Tower of Brews to get an extra 5% off, and you're going to get 3% kickback on your next order. 3% is the amount of our original population that is left here. Like I said, endangered, but not out of it. Us dodos, we don't give up without a fight.
Well, listen, it's because the dodo bird was hunted to extinction.
Is
That's
that true?
Why he can't. Yeah, he didn't just go extinct like with dinosaurs.
No, I know dodos and dinosaurs weren't together, but I just assumed it was like some... does any species go extinct naturally?
Yeah, it can happen, for sure. But the dodo were hunted to extinction by a man, and that's where they got their name from, the dodo bird, because they would just stand on the rocks while the people would come up to them, and they wouldn't run away or anything, and then the hunters would just kill them. And they were like, what a bunch of idiot dodos.
Well, that just makes me more mad at humans. That just speaks less of us, where we have isn't hunting at least supposed to be about either food or the challenge or something like that? There's no merit to just like taking those easy kills. It's like dunking over a 4-year-old and then being so proud of it.
It really is. That's what hunting the dodo was. It was dunking on a 4-year-old and then like rubbing it in his face too, and then never letting him play basketball ever again.
Yeah.
And then
Suck
taking
it,
his
Ethan.
Yes, that's it, Ethan. Suck it, Aiden. You're never playing again. This is my ball. This is my house. This is my house.
You like that, Anakin? I know some kid Anakins.
Do you really?
I don't know them personally, but I do. One of my side hustles is doing mascot work. And part of doing a mascot work is lining up outside the show while everyone gives you a hug and takes a picture and gives a high five. And there were a lot of, this is going back 4 or 5 years, but there's a lot of 5-year-olds named Anakin. Yeah, which is, like it makes sense.
I guess it makes sense. I always thought it was a brutal, weird Star Wars name that is just the word mannequin without an M.
But that's like, have I talked about this before? That's Wendy. It was also made up in the Peter Pan novels. There was no Wendy's before Peter Pan.
Really? I did
Yep.
not know that.
Yeah, so fictional names can become normal. It happens all the time.
What?
Yep.
No, I am. I really gotta confirm this. Like, I do believe you. Yeah. Wow, you're right. It was created from the nickname Fwendy, friend, given to the author by a young friend.
Neat.
That blew my mind.
Yeah,
that blew
right?
my mind. That
so then I mustn't have talked about it here before.
Wow. Well, there you go. You learn something new every day. Okay, so before we get into the deck today, I did want to have a little quick discussion about something I've been thinking about. So yesterday we played a bunch of Magic. It was great.
A bunch of Magic.
We played some Commander. We drafted the new set Ixalan with 4 other guys, including us 2. So it was a good 6-man draft. It was great. We played a bunch. I drafted a pretty good red-white deck. The only game I lost was when I mulled a 4, so that felt pretty good.
Cool. I never played you. Was it just super aggressive?
It was super aggressive. It had a lot of Tilanali's Knights in it with a bunch of dinosaurs.
Wow.
And those guys are great if you're very aggressive and you have a lot of dinosaurs. They're 2-mana 3/3s. So that's very good for an aggressive deck, obviously.
Yeah.
So that was good. That card's not necessarily good. It's just that it happened to be good in that deck, of course. So during one of the games, I'll try and lay it out as best as I can here. It was game 2. I was up 1 game. This one was coming right down to it. I think we were both at around I was playing against our friend Brendan. Brendan was playing a blue-black deck with a splash of white, maybe, I think. He is down to 2 life. I was down to, I think, 3 life, maybe.
Close game.
Yeah, very close game. I had those dinosaurs, the 5/4, I think it is. That
with enraged 3 damage?
Exactly, with enraged 3 damage. And then I had one of those stupid pirate guys that gets menace if you have pirates but can't block.
Yep.
Which I did not know when I drafted it. I didn't read the can't block part, which is fine.
I mean, you're all in for an aggressive deck with that guy.
Exactly. Did I have enough pirates to include 3 of that guy in my deck? No. So I did end up boarding one out permanently.
But don't they help aren't they pirates for each other?
Yeah, they are pirates for each other, and that's what I was thinking. But I boarded one out for another pirate. So it was
sure.
So at least then, if I need the block, I can have it.
Right.
Anyways, and then I had some other creature. I can't remember. Brendan had a 4/4 lifelinker. He had the big ship, the 210 that cruised for 4.
Right.
And then I think he had a 3/3 and another thing a 2/2 maybe or something like that. Maybe it was 2 3/3 or 2/3 or something like that. Doesn't really matter. So it's my turn. I got nothing in my hand. My only course of action here is if I attack and he makes a mistake, right?
Ooh, okay.
My cat did just jump on the keyboard. I just want to make sure she didn't stop the recording. Okay, she didn't. Okay.
I see what addition she made to the notes.
Oh, you did? Yeah. Oh, yeah. There it is. The letter K. Okay. So my only course of action here is I am gonna die here. If I can't just sit back, I have to attack, and he has to make a mistake. He has to block my dinosaur. Get out of here. She's such a little stinker. He has to block my dinosaur. I have to attack with that dinosaur, and he has to block with it but he can't block with the lifelinker, right? Because if he blocks with the lifelinker, he gains life on damage, and then my trigger resolves, and I don't kill him, right? And then I'm down a creature. He's down the lifelinker, which is okay. I can, but I'm still probably gonna die.
Sure.
I think it was that if he did that, okay, I get to live another turn, but then I'm probably dead. So, but what he does is he crews up the ship instead and blocks the dinosaur. And then I'm like, okay, you're dead. Now, Brendan's a good dude. He didn't ask for a take back or anything like that. But I did tell him, I was like, okay, because you did that, you're dead. And then I immediately explained to him that like my only hope in that game was that you made a mistake. Right. So I told him that right away. He wasn't pissed off or anything like that. He was like, oh yeah, okay. Yeah. I made a mistake. But like in another game with another person, that could have been a very different situation there. Right. And this is of course a friendly game. This isn't this isn't for money or anything like that. We don't have prizes. We just play for the draft for fun. So like I thought afterwards, I was like, should I have told him that like it's okay for him to take that back? Because it would have been, if he asked for it, I definitely would have let him. But I was like, you know what I mean? Like I was being, I felt sneaky, but I don't think I was being really sneaky because it really was my only venue to win. If it was just a normal play in the middle of the game that didn't affect who was going to win or lose, I may well have said something. But because it was my only way to win, I was like, I gotta let him make this mistake, right?
Yeah, you're playing to like. I guess the deeper discussion is like, how much of a mistake is worth a take back.
Yeah.
Like that's a game winning versus game losing mistake.
Yeah.
If you let him take that back, he wins. If he doesn't take it back, you win.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, winning or losing aside, like in a casual game, kind of who cares?
Yes.
Right, as long as we're both having fun. But like as a strategy, like you're playing, like that is a risky play, but if that's your only play, you got to take it. So if it works, I think it works, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like I was banking on the mistake because I was like, and again, I was like, well, but if he has to take it back, I am going to let him. Like, I'm not going to argue with him. So, but it still was really my only course of action because I needed that lifelinker to die. So I thought he would block with it. That's actually what I thought was going to happen. And I was like, and if he makes another mistake, great. But he'll probably just block with the lifelinker, which is how he survives and how he looks better for the next turn.
Well, and then I suppose you can expand that argument to think about, like, what about other game states? Let's say you're both at 20, right? Mm-hmm. And you've got a creature that's like a wicked, like 6/6 type of thing. I'm just making up random stuff. Anyway, the simple version is early game, lots of life, decent boards. You attack with a creature that will be very difficult for your opponent to deal with in the long run. Mm-hmm. And they have one chance to like double block it because you're tapped out. And if they don't, you'll always have a trick or something. And they don't do that. That is a mistake that cost them a game way down the line.
Right.
Right. But it's the same fundamental mistake as just not playing your blocks the best.
I think that's go ahead.
You could get deep and just be like, well, you don't know if he has a combat trick. You don't know that creature will be important later. You might have answers in your deck for future draw steps. Yes. But when it comes down to it, it's just like, if every block is not the optimal block, does that count as a mistake?
Here's the other thing, why it's different, why this situation is different. That's a decision that you can justify, I think, pretty easily. I don't think that right? Like, you can justify that.
Yeah.
But like in this situation, I think Brendan didn't even read my card, which is on him ultimately, right?
I agree. Yes, to a degree, but if your opponent doesn't know the card, then you got to explain the card.
Well, you never asked about it or anything, like, and that's why I fully explained to him after. I thought he knew. Like, I thought he knew when I did the attack. I thought he was going to block with the lifelinker, but I was like, there is a chance he doesn't know what this card does, and I'm not going to.
I feel like
I don't know.
That's fair.
I felt like a little bit sleazy for doing it, a little bit.
But this is the best way for him to learn what that card does.
Yeah, and like
he's never going to forget that card.
Yes, I hope not.
Well, something happened to me at my pre-release that is similar but different, and I wonder if you can help me figure out if it is actually different or not. I feel like this is different, but maybe not. We're in the pre-release. I'm playing like a blue-green merfolky dinosaurs-y kind of thing. Just a little bit of evasion.
Sure.
A little bit of tempo. My opponent is playing a very similar deck. Plenty of flyers and stuff like that. So I board in Cobbled Wings. I'm down a game. And I eventually have my Cobbled Wings hooked up to something that keeps growing. I think it might be the guy who puts counters on himself. No, that doesn't sound right because it started bigger than that. Anyway, a big threat that was getting bigger. Oh no, it was the green flash creature that when it gets enraged, you put a +1/+1 counter on it.
Right.
So he's having to chump it with flyers, and it's growing the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a matter of time before that thing takes over. So, but he also resolved that rare green creature. I can't remember the names. That animates your lands.
Oh yeah.
Green XX, I think, or
Green
XX,
Green X.
or Green X, and they get haste. So like he's also gonna take over the game soon. I'm down a game, and I know that like that card will take over. So I attack with my flyer, and he thinks a long time, and he like takes the damage. So now he's within one hit of that flyer away.
Mm-hmm.
But I realize, oh no, I don't have any blockers now. If he animates a land, if he taps out for that and swings with everything, I got no options. And he thinks a long time. I have a little bit of mana open, so maybe he's thinking about a trick. But he thinks a really long time, and then he goes, pass turn. So I untap, draw my card. I don't even think about it, and I go to attacks. And he's like, oh, I forgot that guy had flying. And then so I just wait. And then I'm just like, so can I declare attacks? He's like, yes. And then he just scoops because the flyer kills him, right?
Mm-hmm.
He has no flying defense anymore. And so now it's tied, and we're in game 3, and I make a play where he resolves a thing that puts a counter on a thing, and I had like a pounce, and I wanted to use it before the counter goes, but he's like, oh, cast a spell. I'm like, okay. And he goes to put a counter on. I'm like, oh, you know what? I want to do something before that counter resolves. It's like, nope, you didn't give me a take back, so I'm not giving you a take back on this one. You cast the spell. Spell is cast. And I'm just like, well, you didn't ask for a take back, so
yeah.
Like we didn't, and also like if you just forgot this guy had flying, that's not. And this is like ultimately there are prizes down the line.
Yeah.
If you do well, and then we get caught in a little discussion. We should have called a judge probably, but it's like, well, if you want, like the spell's not going to resolve now because I want to cast it at a different time. So if you let it resolve, you're letting it resolve at the right time, or you just like let me not resolve it now, right? And so anyway. I ended up resolving it, and I was just like, fine, I'm going to beat you with my other cards anyway. It doesn't matter. I'll give you this little victory. But
did you beat him?
In the end, no, I did not. No, because in the end, we went to time, and I knew that it was going to be a draw. He had the upper hand for sure at the time we went to time, but I usually feel like if my opponent has the win basically locked, and we're on last 5 turns, I usually concede and give him the chance to prize out, right? Because it's like, well, that seems a draw. It doesn't help either of us.
Yeah.
But since he was being a little bit too rude about all that stuff, I was like, well, I'm gonna let this go to a draw so that we're, either I'm screwed either way. So like, I might as well screw you too. Was that salty? I don't know.
It's a bit of salt. It's a little bit of salt. But I think it's fine though. But the thing that I can't get over is that, like, get out of here, my cat. Is that you were right about that second thing though. It's like you didn't even need a take back. You were responding to the trigger. Like,
yeah,
there was no take back needed there. You just needed to tell him how the rules work.
Yeah, I mean, I felt like.
Like he cast the spell, like anyway. You didn't even need to respond to the spell casting part, right?
Yeah, right.
You could respond to the whatever else it was, the thing you were saying.
Yeah, it's true.
Anyways, that
but
kind of stuff.
Is that so? What about that take back, right? Like I saw that I was dead on board, but he didn't, and like if he had asked for the take back, he would have, like if he knew he was dead next turn. I think most people just like, well, swing with everything. Because that's the same play, right?
Yeah.
Swing with everything when you know you're dead, and hopefully your opponent makes a mistake.
Right.
He didn't realize he was dead next turn. He forgot he was dead next turn for a moment and didn't make that play. If he asked for the take back, would you have given it to him after you had, like, because the win, like, this is the difference. It's the same difference. Like, either he does it or doesn't, and then if he does, he wins. If he doesn't, he loses.
But that, yeah, it's interesting. So, like, this is a stranger, which is okay, which is fine. Like, you'd be nice to strangers, of course.
Yes, always be nice
but
to
it is
strangers.
a little different than when you're playing with your friends.
Yep.
You're playing at a pre-release, so it's not a high, like, high intensity level, but there are prizes involved.
Well, and there is like a special rule set for, they call it casual REL. which covers pre-releases, and there is like a specific rule set, and like there is room, and it's built to have room for casual errors like this. It's not strict tournament policy.
Now, does that involve going back an entire turn? Because that's what would have happened there, right? He says pass turn. Now it's your turn, and he wants to take it back. No, I know he never said he wanted to take it back. But that's the biggest problem. You got to just ask for it if you want it.
I know. He was acting like I didn't give him a take back, but it's like, I didn't volunteer you a take back, but like, you said you forgot he had flying, and I was like, yep, I guess you did. I guess the lesson is, if you want something, you got to ask for it.
So do you? How often do you ask for take backs?
I can't give you a statistic, but I ask for plenty of times. I can see myself being like, oh wait, can I tap this mana instead? Because I want to hold something up, or like, oh wait, I should resolve this one first. So I'll cast these in reverse order so I can get the trigger for this thing, right? I do stuff like that all the time.
I try really hard not to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I sometimes you do, of course, because sometimes there's a lot going on, especially in Commander. There's a ton going on. It's hard to keep track of everything. It's like, oh, that had that. Okay, can I replay this differently because I forgot that guy is, one of these 10 creatures I'm looking at, does something very specific. So, and I'm always happy to give takebacks in EDH, as long as like sometimes people like just as long as you understand that you're asking for it like 2 turns later. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, that's a bit much, but okay. Like I always like saying like that if it's something extreme like that. But normally it's just totally fine. I don't really care. But I try not to do it just because I feel like even once in a while with my mana tapping, I'm like, damn it, like I tap my mana all wrong. It's 2 turns later now. Like it's the two guys down the line's turn. I can't fix this now. Like that's way too late for me to do that. So I'm not gonna do it.
I'm with you there. I guess I was talking more like in the middle of casting.
Yeah,
like
in the
I'll
middle.
Tap 6 lands.
Oh yeah, that's
and
different.
I'll be like, oh wait, I mean to tap these.
Yeah, I think that's very different. I think like if you're still in your turn and in the middle of doing things.
I do this too. Sometimes. I often say like, oh, I'm gonna declare attacks. Oh wait, no. First, I want to move this equipment around. Okay, now I'm gonna declare attacks.
Yes, yeah. I think that's fine too. Yeah, I just try not to, just because I feel like what you were saying. It's like, okay, well now I'm gonna remember to. Last time I didn't tap my mana correctly. Like I got to figure that out, right? Like I gotta be thinking about that.
Yeah.
I'm not like too hard on myself like that, but like also like sometimes takebacks cause like arguments and stuff, and it's like I'll just avoid that. It's
it does create an interesting, like if we're playing Commander at home, it is by definition a very casual format. Mm-hmm. So like what kinds of things are you talking about with takebacks as well, where it's like like what level of like we certainly can't be expected to just be like, okay, I cast this, pass priority. And then just wait for people to say things like, you pass back. You said I said that so that we couldn't have takebacks. It's like, I don't want to play that way.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we're always like searching up our basics a turn early to save on shuffling time.
Yeah,
no
exactly.
one's gonna be like, I'm gonna wait until I see what kind of basic you drop.
I do love that every time we ever talk about an opponent doing something, it's always that voice.
That voice.
It's that voice every time. Okay, I'm gonna see what basic you have. Like, who is that guy? Who talks like that?
It's our Simpsons equivalent of generic opponent. Like, the Simpsons create recurring characters that always show up.
Yeah.
If he would have a look and like a set of clothes and a face that would be the same opponent every single time with that voice. Yeah. Probably Hank Azaria does the voice.
Okay, pass priority. Okay, and wait. Well, yeah.
Yeah, man. Same take backsies.
Yeah. So, anyways, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking about that. I was like, should I have offered that take back? It's certainly not on me to offer the take back to my opponent, obviously, right? Like,
no.
As long as I'm like willing to give it, I think that's all you kind of need to be in the situation I was talking about, which I honestly was willing to give it, because I could tell it was just like he didn't read the card at that point. You know what I mean? Like, and if he asked for it, I would have given it to him, but he didn't ask for it. I was just like, you're dead then. I win.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if it's tough, right? Because at some point he had to have read the card. If he never read it once, that's on him.
I think that is the thing. I think he didn't even read it at all.
Oh boy.
Which is like, come on, if you see a card you don't know, pick it up and have a look at it, like
pick it up and have a look. Come on, man.
Have a peek. Okay, well,
cool.
Well, let us know what you guys think as well, either in YouTube comments or just over Twitter. At Commander's
How do
Brew.
you feel about takebacks?
Yeah, tell us about takebacks. If you got a good takeback story, also let us know about that. You can write us at commandersbrew@gmail.com, which
long form.
Yeah, long form. If you have a good
might be too complicated of a topic. You might need to use the old Gmail.
Yeah, exactly. I also read a thread on Reddit that made me think of takebacks.
Neat.
Which was an interesting story on the MTG subreddit there. Anyways, let's get into this deck.
All right. So we talked about 1DH. What is 1DH? It's an alternative way to brew a deck. It's so normally we do $50 a deck, no card over $5. The difference here is no budget restrictions for the total deck price, but every card, including your commander, has to be $1 or less. That's why it's also nicknamed Dollar General or 1DH. I have not gone super deep on to discover if there's an official legal list. Like, does that get updated daily or every time a rotation happens? Like, so are things good? So, like, I guess my question is how long, because I got some cards in here that depending on what site you look at, they're like $1.02 according to some websites, but they're like 89 cents on other websites. So is that legal?
I could be mistaken, but I do believe that 1DH goes by TCG mid. I think that's their official thing. I think. I think I've seen that written somewhere. I think someone told me that.
Well, I don't recall that. Admittedly, we were thinking about this for quite some time ago, and I don't remember.
So I just used because Scryfall does use TCG mid.
Oh, they do. Okay, that's what I used. So I guess mine's legal then.
Yeah, that's what I used too. So
I really like Scryfall because it's I've said it before, it's the most robust search engine. You can make it super precise for anything you want, and you can even search cards that are less than or equal to $1 USD. Yeah, it's great. So that's what I did. I brewed a deck together. I gotta say, this is very fun to brew around because you have to think of decks differently, right? You can't just go for this. I mean, there's definitely not the same kind of combo wins and overpowered enchantments and stuff, because $100 is not super easy, but it's not hard. But you lose a lot because there's a lot of cards that are $1.50, which we assume are cheap.
Yeah,
but those are no good.
It's true.
So here's what I've done. I'm using Rashmi Eternity's Crafter. You'll remember her from Kaladesh. 2 blue-green. We're going Simic for a 2/3 elf druid. Whenever you cast your first spell each turn, reveal the top card of your library. If it's a non-land card with converted mana cost less than that spell, you may cast it without paying its mana cost. If you don't cast it, so it's your choice to cast it or not, put it into your hand. So at minimum, you're drawing a card for the first spell you cast every turn, and you may get that for free if it's less than what you paid for the first one. So obviously, lots of instant speed spells so we can cast on every turn. Lots of draw. She's draw herself. Flash creatures. Counter spells. And then my win cons are some just big old slabs of beef. And I got a bit of a side mill strategy going on because I think I'm going to generate a ton of mana. So I think I can use that to assist in a mill strategy.
Really? A side mill? You're not all in on mill? That's usually what you have to do for Commander, especially.
No. Well, I think this is why 1DH might be a little bit different, because I can get away with a couple of cards for this. I've got enough redundancy on the main one that I think it's fair to just be like, yeah, I'm going to just try this on the side. If I resolve this, there we go.
Interesting.
Yeah, cool.
Cool.
So let's get into it. Let's start with the first category, because to maximize Rashmi, you want to get flash, instant, draw, all that stuff. So let's start with Illusory Ambusher. 4 and a blue for a cat illusion. I just noticed it was a cat.
A blue cat.
Weird. It has flash, so obviously we're going to cast it on other people's turns and then the next card, if it costs less than 5, we're also going to get that. But here's what Illusory Ambusher does. It's a 4/1. Whenever Illusory Ambusher is dealt damage, draw that many cards. So this is built to flash in after they declare attackers on you, and you block the biggest thing. You either block something for a trade that helps you, or you just chump a big thing and just turn this into a ton of cards. Mm-hmm. The alternative use of it, because I do have a number of counter spells in the deck, the alternative use is to flash this in if you don't have a counter spell and they're casting a spell you want to counter, and just cross on your fingers that the next card on your deck is a counter spell. That you flash this into the counter spell while the other spell's on the stack. But that's a corner case. Yeah,
that's a real fingers crossed moment.
That's true of any instant speed spell. I mean, that costs more than 2 or 3, I suppose.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Okay, what do we have next here? We have Winged Codal. 1 green, blue creature, snake. It's a 1/1 with flash and flying and death touch.
It's simple, but I think this format's going to lend itself to a lot of creature combat, so I think this is going to be an excellent card. And again, cast it on other people's turns to get more cards out of it.
It's always so weird when you see a snake with huge bird wings.
Yeah, right?
I love
snake
this card,
with wings,
yeah.
Snake. Snake with arms, Naga. Get it right, Wizards.
Yeah, right. This is still a snake, right?
Like, Naga gets arms, they're a thing, but snakes get wings, still a snake. It's so hard to, like, not be a snake in Magic World.
This guy's basically a dinosaur, but he's still a snake.
Come on. Yeah, okay. Okay.
So, yeah, obviously this guy flashes in and trades with just about everything, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, like that. One more instant spell. This is an X instant spell, which is valuable because you can scale it, right? Like, the bigger you make this, the more likely it is you'll hit the next thing. Whir of Invention, X, blue, blue, blue. And it also has improvise, but we're not running a ton of artifact tokens, so I don't expect to improvise much. I mean, we have some mana rocks, but they're going to just be the mana they are anyway. I'll just point out, we don't have Sol Ring in 1DH.
Oh, yeah. More than $1.
Right? But here's what Whir of Invention does. Search your library for an artifact with converted mana cost X or less, put it onto the battlefield, then shuffle your library. Since we're doing a side mill strategy, this is what this card is in there for, to help grab our mill cards.
Oh, neat. Okay. Mill strategy.
Yeah.
Okay. What's the next category here?
Yeah, so I'll let you start this one off, but we're just going to talk about some big beefers that are in the deck. Because you eventually resolve these, and that's how I think we're going to win a lot of games here.
Yeah,
I assume 1DH plays a little differently than regular, so we're probably going to do a lot of combat. We're probably going to want a lot of creatures to do that. I don't think you don't have Swords to Plowshares, you don't have Path to Exile. Like, you got to rely on cards like Murder.
I love that, because the deck that I built for 1DH, which, spoiler alert, is Sean and I are going to play both of our 1DH decks sometime this week. And then next week, when we talk about my 1DH deck, we'll have a big discussion about how our decks played against each other. So this is like the preview. The main event is coming in the middle of the week sometime, and then we'll have the post show, which is just next week's show.
I love it.
Should I tell them what my deck is?
Well, let's do that at the end. For the sneak preview.
Okay, sneak preview.
Let's go back to the cats.
Okay, so
categories.
Big beefers here. We need somebody to get in and win. So Ulvenwald Hydra is a good one. 4 and 2 green for a Hydra with reach. Its power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control, which is great. When Ulvenwald Hydra enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a land card, put it into the battlefield, tapped, then shuffle your library. This is I love. So we're talking 1DH. You're probably thinking, there's not that many mythics I can get my hands on. Well, that's not true. There's tons of mythics that are $1 or less. This being one of them. Yeah,
right? And can I just say that let's just throw this out here, too. Standard just rotated. So this card just rotated out of Standard. This is the best time to buy these cards. I think less than $1 for this is a steal in most Commander decks. Because this thing's always going to be pretty huge. And you get any land you want. How about a Rogue's Passage so I can get in for free? I can sneak this in anytime I want. How about like a Reliquary Tower? Whatever you need, it gets any utility land.
This is the thing. So because of this, I got to ask you this in the middle of this right now.
Sure.
Because of this different deck building situation, you and I usually go full on 60 cards, basically. We spend all of our $50 on those cards, essentially, and then we mostly fill it up with basics and guild gates and things like that.
Yeah.
This format is very different from that. Like, I found myself putting in all the other cards that were all the other lands that were $1 or less that are good. I put in my deck. Like, so like, we rarely really talk about lands on our show because of the budget restraints, but this feels a bit different. So Ulvenwald Hydra is even more valuable in this format than it is in the Commander's Brew format, where you're only allowed $50 or whatever.
Yeah. Cool. Next big beefer. One of the beefiest, Inkwell Leviathan, 7 blue, Island Walk, Trample, Shroud. So, maybe my opponent doesn't have islands, but it's got Trample and Shroud. It's going to get... there's not that many Wraths that are eligible in this format, and this is protected from spot removal. I don't know if there's many easy ways to get rid of this guy.
Wow, yeah, there's got to be a few Wraths.
I haven't done deep research, but a lot of them are not. If you want to go over the next card, maybe I'm going to start looking up Wraths under 1DH.
The next big beefer is Stormtide Leviathan, one of my favorites. This may be the first Magic rare that I ever had. I definitely remember getting it at PAX East in like 20.
Wow.
Like, I don't know, when was that? That was a long time ago. Maybe like 2011 or something. Anyways, they were giving out the little... Oh, no, Magic 2013 had just come out. That's when it was. It was 2013, so it was like 2012. They give you those little starter packs. And Stormtide Leviathan was one of the ones in mine. Anyways, 5, blue. It's a creature Leviathan. It's an 8/8. It has Island Walk. It says all lands are islands in addition to their other types. And creatures without flying or Island Walk can't attack. So he just gets in. No problem. Everywhere. And guess what? Most other things can't attack. This guy locks down games, and the fact that a creature's pretty good when you can lock down EDH games. Like, this guy does lock down the entire, like, not the entire board. Obviously, you're gonna have some flyers out there, but he locks down the majority of any Commander game, which is crazy.
Looked up some Wraths. There are plenty of Wraths that are still eligible under $1.
Okay, can you name a couple real quick?
Sure. We got Crux of Fate. We got Deathbringer Regent, which is the creature if there's 5 or more. We've got End Hostilities is under $1.
Right, okay.
Fated Retribution is an instant Wrath. Okay. There's plenty. Hour of Revelation off the new Hour of Devastation.
You just don't get any of those 4-mana Wraths. You don't see any of those Day of Judgments or Damnations or Wrath of Gods, I guess, right?
You do have Nevinyrral's Disc.
Oh, wow. Okay, so there's plenty of Wraths then.
Plenty of Wraths. So maybe I'm wrong on my estimate. Maybe Wraths are just even stronger. I don't know. I do think it's interesting. I'm still intrigued to try this out, to play our decks.
I agree. I didn't find that many differences. I mean, I'll save for the deep discussion for next week's show. But like,
sure.
Of course, there's some big things not available, but like, I was able to put together pretty much this, like, the deck that you would want, I think. Anyways, mostly.
Yeah, even right. So I mean, not to blow the discussion now, but like, I think Derevi is under $1, and you can almost build the normal Derevi deck.
Yeah.
Like with all those little wizards. Like, so it's like that's already almost a tier 1 deck anyway. So it's like the fact that you can do that in 1DH kind of seems a little OP to me.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah. All right, what's next?
So moving on. So I've got a few counter spells in here. I'm just going to highlight some of the ones I like the most. And that's counter spells are extra great because they usually fall on opponents' turns, which is when we want to be doing stuff with Rashmi, right? We want to be doing as much as possible. This one's great. Plasm Capture. Green, blue. counter target spell. At the beginning of your next pre-combat main phase, add X mana in any combination of colors to your mana pool, where X is that spell's converted mana cost. This is one of the few cards. It costs 4. Rashmi costs 4. This is one of the few cards I would, if I had this in my hand, this is an instance where I may not cast Rashmi with 4 mana open, because I'm like, well, I'm just going to steal 4 of your mana, not draw a card, but I'm going to cast like my 7 or 8 hexproof drop next turn and start going to face.
I always thought this card was called Plasma Capture.
You can call it Plasma Capture.
It's 1A away from being that.
Yeah. They just forgot it.
I love the art on this card, I must say. It's Niv Mizzet blowing fire into a giant like shield made out of snot.
Yeah, and presumably the wizard is saving that snot and drawing the fire out of it for future use.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, he's saving that up.
Don't throw out that handkerchief.
Yeah, he's keeping those tissues. Yeah. He's going to draw that power out of there afterwards.
Yeah. Oh, gross. You got to warn people before you do that in their ears. No, don't, Andy. It's so gross. Oh, man. Okay, another counter spell we got in here is Rewind. 2 blue, counter target spell, and then untap up to 4 lands. In a deck like this, where it's all about like instant speed and waiting and leaving your mana open, Rewind is one of the best counter spells, because not only is it a 4 mana spell, so like it gets some good stuff with Rashmi, but you also will untap those lands again and then be ready for your next counter spell or your next instant speed, your next flash thing, whatever it is. Rewind's fantastic in a deck that wants to draw go. It's so good. Yeah. The perfect play is if there's still opponents after this opponent. So you get something on their turn with Rewind. You get something on the next person's turn with your extra mana. Yeah, great.
Exactly.
I want to highlight this next one. I don't think we use this one enough. Insidious Will.
We never talked about this card. It's great, though.
It's fantastic. It's from Kaladesh. It's 2 blue for an instant, and you get to choose one of 3 modes. Either counter target spell as a baseline. We're always happy to have that. Or you may choose new targets for target spell. That's like better than a counter spell if it's a 1-point thing most of the time. You get to let it happen, but you choose where it happens. Oh, you wanted to draw a bunch of cards? No, that'll be me. Oh, you want to destroy this creature? Actually, it'll be that creature. Better than a counter spell. Or copy target instant or sorcery spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. That's if you want to use it on yourself. If you're like, I got a great card I want to do 2 of. Sure, man. Insidious Will that thing.
Or you still could copy a thing that like your opponent's doing, of course, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah. If player A is hurting player B with a spell, you could copy it and also hurt player A and just get a huge tempo upswing.
Yeah. Insidious Will is great. It's like for I guess it's for like 2 extra mana than you would rather have for like a really good counter spell, like counter spell, for example.
Yeah.
You get those extra modes, like modal cards are so good. Insidious Will is just it's awesome.
And I'll take this moment to remind you that with Rashmi, we're drawing cards so often that we are playing a land every turn almost without fail.
Yeah.
Unless something goes horribly wrong early on, we're probably playing a land every turn, so it's very easy to hold up 4.
Yeah. Yeah, and well, especially I think you want to always be holding up everything.
Ideally,
right?
But we're still going to cast our Inkwell Leviathans, but
sure.
we're certainly not going to have a Vidalcan Orrery out or anything like that, or the blue flash thing. Like you just can't play that way.
You can't. What's next?
Okay, cool. So we're going to go on to some our mills. So we said there was a side mill strategy. That's true. And here are some of the cards that we're going to use with that. The main one, I think, is Keening Stone. 6 colorless for an artifact, 6 generic. And for the activation of 5 and a tap, target player puts the top X cards of his or her library into his or her graveyard, where X is the number of cards in that player's graveyard. So it doubles the size of their graveyard every turn. You choose to use this. Now, sometimes we just have lots of mana left over where we can just do this anyway. And if we're kind of draw go-y, we often have that. And it's very, it's not hard. This is probably 3 activations for a kill, maybe 4. It is very unlikely that you have to do much work. And that's also because, we also have a few extra assisting cards in here to get the graveyard a little bit bigger to begin with. And this card ends games in faster than you may see coming.
Okay. Speaking of those ones, we have Mind Shrieker. Also, it's 1 and a blue for Spirit Bird. It's a 1/1, has flying. It says you pay 2 generic. Target player puts the top card of his or her library into his or her graveyard, and Mind Shrieker gets plus X until end of turn, where X is that card's converted mana cost.
Yeah.
So you can do this over and over again to mill several cards and to pump this thing into just make it massive.
Yeah. The move for this, if you definitely want to attack, I think you mill on your first main phase to see how big it is before you swing in. The alternative is if you're going Drago, just hold up the mana, hold up Mind Shrieker, and they'll be hard pressed to attack into it because they have no idea how big it's going to get.
Yeah, I've seen this get huge. You mill a 6-drop, you mill a 4-drop. That's plus 10 for 4.
Yeah, man, Mind Shrieker loves hitting that gym, getting huge.
Yeah, loves it. All gym bone love.
Cool.
All gym bones fine.
Yeah. I see what you did there. And then who said the last card? Was that you or me? I forget.
I just read Mind Shrieker.
So I'll talk about Trepanation Blade. 3, generic equipment. When equipped creature attacks, defending player reveals cards until they reveal a land, and then target the creature that's equipped gets +1/+0 for each card revealed this way, and all those revealed cards go into the graveyard. So this isn't huge, but if you're putting it on an Inkwell Leviathan, for example, that's enough. Like if it's going to be 2 or 3 extra. You can't. But you can put it on. Some of our big beefers, anyway.
Right.
Ulvenwald
One
Hydra,
of the big boys
example.
that it doesn't have Shroud.
Sure. Maybe even a Mind Shrieker, right? Just make it extra there. Yeah. So again, with Keening Stone, the thing you got to keep in mind is it doubles the graveyard. So if you have 70 cards left in your library, the second last one only needs 35 cards, and then the one before that only needs like 16, 17 cards. So if your library's fat and you only have 10 to 15 cards in your graveyard, you might not be afraid of Keening Stone, but this math gets you quick.
It sure does get you quick. It's just a matter of like, the only thing I would be worried about is like, I guess you're drawing a lot of cards, you were saying. So
yep.
Hopefully you do get these pieces together.
Yep. And then, like, I guess we don't have it in here, but like, so that Whir of Invention gets Keening Stone, right? That's the one we talked about earlier. But one card that's not in the notes is Treasure Mage, which is under $1. That gets any 6-drop artifact. That gets Keening Stone quite nicely.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And again, if we're not drawing Keening Stone, we're drawing counterspells and we're drawing big fatties. So, like, that's fine, too.
Yeah. Cool. Well, yeah, there you go. That's it. That's the 1DH Rashmi deck, but let's take a look at what the 3 stars of this deck are. What are the top 3? What are the best ones that work with the strategy here?
Sure. You can take it. One is number 3.
Sure. Okay. Number 3 is Nissa's Revelation. 5 green for a sorcery that says scry 5. Then reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, you draw cards equal to its power and you gain life equal to its toughness. So yeah, explain this. This is a sorcery. It costs 7 mana. How is this big for Rashmi?
Sure. So here's how it works. You know what's in your hand to start when you cast it. We've got lots of big fatty creatures. So as long as we see one of those in the next 5, here's our options. We can either leave that huge creature on top, draw a ton of cards, gain a ton of life, or if we would rather, we can leave a smaller card on top and guarantee it for our next Rashmi trigger.
Right.
That's how.
So it's just for the scry 5.
Well, I mean but also the fact that you're going to draw a ton of cards, get a ton of life if you need to.
Right, of course, has the big bonus of that too.
Yeah.
Right on. Okay, this is Revelation. I'm kind of surprised. Like, I haven't played this deck yet, obviously, so I don't know. But it feels like that the 7 mana sword. I guess just stacking the top of your deck is so good with Rashmi, and this is like kind of one of the only ways to do it so reliably because it's scry 5.
Yeah.
It has a pretty nice payoff if you get to draw a bunch of cards.
if you do reveal a big creature, you'll draw past those 5 cards, so you're not really knowing what's left on top. But I still think you're getting a lot of bang for your mana here. Okay. Star number 2, Keening Stone. We talked about it a bunch, but yeah, it's a star because it's a full win con. Yeah, that's all I'll say about that.
That's all to say about that. We talked quite a bit about it. Number 2 star. Yeah. And the number 1 star of the deck is Yiva, Nature's Herald. Oh my god, I'm allergic to this card. Yiva is 2 green for a 4/4 legendary elf shaman. She has flash herself, and she says you may cast green creature cards as though they had flash.
Fantastic. That's exactly what this deck wants.
Yep, that's exactly what this deck wants.
We can't get Vidalcan Orrery, which probably would be star number 1, so we'll get the next best thing.
Next best thing just says only green creatures. But you know what? This deck is probably mostly made up of blue spells and green creatures, right?
That's true. Or if not, double color spells or creatures which are also green.
Both, yeah, exactly. So there you go. Yiva, Nature's Herald is great, and that card is only 75 cents, so it's very, very much available to the 1DH decks. Do we have any surprises or discoveries with this one?
Yeah, minor. I'm surprised Guile is under $1. I assumed these fellas this cycle was more expensive. Guile is 3 blue for a creature elemental incarnation, so 6 mana total for a 6/6. Guile can't be blocked except by 3 or more creatures.
So it's like Super Menace.
Super Menace, yeah, Menace +1. If a spell or ability you control would counter a spell, instead exile that spell, and you may play that card without paying its mana cost. Oh. When Guile is put into a graveyard from anywhere, shuffle it into its owner's library. So we got plenty of counter spells in here, and we're just gonna straight up take things. Yeah. Can you imagine a Plasm Capture with Guile out? It's like, first of all, I'm gonna take your spell. Second of all, I'm gonna use that extra mana on my turn to cast another big spell.
It's crazy. I love Guile.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. I am also surprised to find that that's under $1. That's great.
I assumed it was more. That's the fun thing about this format too, is this is $1. Great.
It's probably because they reprinted it, but who knows? Maybe it was never over $1.
Maybe.
Great. Okay. That's the deck. Obviously, this is going to be very different because okay, before we get to the budget report, let's talk about Wizards Tower for another quick sec here. Go to wizardstower.com or mtgcanada.com, which is their content site. You can find articles written by Sean and myself. Sean, you just put up an article today? Yesterday?
It should be releasing today. Just put that thing up. It's just highlighting some of my favorite cards that are just rotating that I think you should purchase now.
Oh, look at that. A little bit of budget, a little bit of finance advice there from our boy. Check it out. And, of course, wizardtower.com, use the code Tower Brews, and you can get on orders $15 or more, you get 5% off.
Love it.
It's great.
Use that coop code.
Use that coop code. And if you're in the Ottawa area, of course, head on over. They're just across the street from the Fallowfield train station, which I am going to on this Thursday. So I might be able to drop by Wizards Tower and to say hello to all the gang there.
Oh yeah, man! If you're maybe if you can meet some listeners if they're near the area.
Yeah, I'll probably pop in around, I don't know, sometime in the evening. I don't know. We'll see.
Sure.
Cool. Wizards Tower, check it out. Now, the budget report.
This is where we put all the cards under a strict window, and we make sure to see which ones fit through that window under $1 and which ones don't. In this case, all of them.
Okay. What did your deck come in at for this $1 challenge?
So in theory, the most expensive a deck could be is $100 if every card was exactly $1.
Single card was $1. Yes.
But this one came in at about $40.
Mm-hmm.
So the average card price is 40 cents. I don't know how good that is on average, but I think that's pretty decent. So these decks will probably always be under our $50 limit. The big difference is that everything's under $1. So I'm not going to break down the top 3 expensive cards because they're all about $1.
Yep, exactly. You probably find several that are about 90 something cents or whatever, or maybe $1 bang on. Anyways.
Yeah, and then like there's no point in talking about out of budget cards because that's not how this works.
That's not how this works. You can't do it.
Out of budget cards, sure, play a different format.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But instead of those two things, let's talk about 1DH in general as a format.
Okay, great. We have yet to face our decks down head to head.
Right.
But I'll say from a brewing perspective, it's very fun to brew around. It's fun to like explore new areas. As we always say, restriction breeds creativity.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, it does. And I think that's one of the big draws to this format is that that restriction that is placed on, that budget restriction, makes it fun to build things, and it's actually kind of challenging to build like as good a deck as possible with using these cards. But then again, it's also so cheap that it's like not a big deal to do it, you know?
Yeah.
You drop $40 on one of these and it's great. You can like, as we've shown in this episode, you can get some very good cards for some very good commander cards that are still $1 or less.
Yeah. Yeah. Like so many huge creatures and huge instants and sorceries are less than $1 because no format wants them, and sometimes not even commander. But that's great for 1DH, which kind of gears the format to be something where more of those exist, which I think pound for pound, that's more my speed. Like I'd rather play in a format with lots more huge haymakers rather than tight combos and tutors.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I believe that this is essentially the form of Commander before it existed, which is what got me into Commander.
Yeah, right? Like this is sort of like not to, I don't mean this as a judgment, but it's sort of like beginner's Commander. What I mean by that is like it's more suited to the decks that people with less experience start to brew. And I honestly think this would be the perfect format for playing in public, playing like in tournaments and stuff, because you're not going to face like people who put thousands of dollars into turn 2 win decks, because you can't.
Well, I mean, we're saying we can't, but like I'm sure there are. I'm sure there's something out there that people can do, because any format's going to get solved. Well, not solved perhaps, but like they're going to get cracked, and they're going to find the top decks. And there's just like if you put this as a format in Magic Online, I'm sure people would find it, and you know. But
it's self-correcting, because once that happens,
that's
like
true.
if these cards get above $1, then you can't do it anymore,
you can't
right?
Even play the card anymore, yeah.
Yeah, right. Like if there's one busted card, like if I want a card to make a creature unblockable, I got hundreds. I can't find a degenerate, but the ones that will never be legal are the ones that are these unique combo pieces that are like those will never be under $1, so like you don't ever have to worry about them.
I gotta say though, that is definitely one of the downsides of this. Now, no, like we said, we don't know exactly how it works. Maybe I'm sure we'll hear between shows, which would be great if you could tell us. But we'll also just look it up if not. How the rotation works. I think there is a specific time set on it. I think.
Yes.
It might be just between rotations. Who knows? I don't know. Anyways, but it is essentially a rotating format in that, you know, some cards will get more expensive and you'll have to take them out of your decks, which we're not used to doing in Commander really. The occasional ban will come across, and we got to pull out of all of our, you know, profit accrue fixes, like they're, you know, but that's like, you know, a couple of decks, one card in each deck. It's not a big deal. This could be a few cards in all of your decks if you have a lot of them, right? So
yeah,
it's a matter of I mean, but luckily it's not like you have to now it's like you don't have to replace those cards with cards that are that like now that much money. You just made money, and you get to put in more dollar cards, so it's not that bad.
Right.
The one thing I was going to say is that I think another kind of downside is that for newer players mostly, is that you don't, it's like you can build your 1DH deck and be like, great, all these cards I drafted that are all less than $1, I put in my deck, and like I bought some online, it's great. But now if you open up a sweet rare in your next draft or whatever it is you're doing, you don't get to use it because it's too much. And it always feels good to use those cards. Always, that's one of the other things that feels so good about Commander and tying it to draft and stuff like that is that, oh sweet, this awesome card I just opened, great, I get to run it in my Commander deck. It's like, well, if you're only playing 1DH, you can't do that.
True, and there's another and that is the drawback, having to adjust things. And like I'll say right now, Rashmi is 95 cents. She's borderline. So if she goes up 25 cents, this whole deck is done. Like, you got to scrap the whole deck.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a lot of commanders that have appeared on this list. Like, I know Nin the Paint Artist is technically 99 cents someplace. So, like, you could build a Nin deck, but, like, Nin has never been under $1 as long as I can remember. And that's only probably because of the recent reprint. But I expect Nin will be back above $1 in no time. So, like, and then, like, same thing with Skull Clamp, right? It's under $1 right now, but, like, probably not for long.
Yeah, it's true.
So a lot, so it is 1DH, but when you're brewing cards, if you look for those dollar cards, that's where it gets tricky. You probably have to pretend it's like 80 cents DH, and then, because those are probably your safer picks that are, like, more reliable to brew around.
And I think what's more reasonable is that, like, a person would have a 1 or 2 1DH decks and then some other regular commander decks, so that way, you know, as things come and go, it's fine because you'll just either move them up to your other commander decks, or, you know, you'll at least have a home for those other cards when they're rotating out.
Yeah.
/ getting too expensive. But you know what? I actually would really like to hear from a couple 1DH players on this. Like, what did they think of the price fluctuations? How has that affected your 1DH decks? We're brand new to this. We don't have any in real life, so it would be very interesting to hear from some players who've been playing in the format for a while. I think it's worthy of us, Sean. Like, I kind of want to do like a challenge with, like, our play group and, like, get everyone to build a 1DH deck.
Oh, a tournament it up?
Yeah, and then, like, play, you know, like some 4-player games and, like, just see how the decks run, and I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, this is not too different from the Pauper discussion, right?
Yeah.
This is, you know, yeah.
It is very similar, in fact. Yeah, definitely.
Okay, I'm in. If we can convince a couple of our pals to do it. I mean, I know a great website to buy cards from for cheap that you can get a discount on.
and here's the other thing, though. It's kind of different in Canada. It's not 1DH. It's like $1.50 DH.
Yeah, right? Yeah, we're doing the exchange.
Yeah, exactly. Our exchange rate is different. So we're talking USD here, as we always do. We're always talking US dollars.
It would be hilarious to go on Scryfall and look up the actual exchange rate. Like, what's $1 US and Canadian right now? I'm going to look it up.
Oh, this is like all Canadian. If you build your deck in Canada, it's just going to be worse because you don't have as much money. Like, your restriction is like 84 cents or whatever.
I gotta flip it. Canadian dollar to US dollar. Yeah, 80 cents. So you gotta look on Scryfall for any card under 80 cents.
If you're playing the Canadian 1DH, it's 80 cents. That's your cutoff.
Yeah.
We should have done that. That's what we should have done today.
That's what we should have done.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. I lose a lot of cards out of this deck, to be honest. A lot of my cards are close to $1. That's why I'm worried about rotation, because, like I said, some, depending on the website, some of them are $1.03. So, like, if they're edging upwards, then yeah, this deck falls apart soon.
Same thing with mine. My deck is, I'll tell you right now, here's the spoiler. It's Jared Golgari Lichlord.
Ooh.
Jared
he's pretty
or
beefy.
Jared. I just call him Jared because I think it's funnier to think that his name is Jared.
I prefer to use names of people.
Yeah, right. So Jared, he's like, a lot of cards are like at $1. They are.
Well, Jared's
$1.
at 75.
Yeah, he's fine. But
he's fine.
But like, a lot of cards in here, and in fact, when I looked it up on Scryfall said everything was fine, and then I looked it up on what's it called, the one we use, MTG Goldfish, just to like price out the whole deck. Some were like $1.12 or $1.06, and I'm like, well,
yeah,
that just means that whatever they use found those, but you can definitely find those cards for less than for $1 or less. So.
Yeah, they're a reseller as well, so they also have their own pricing.
Right, there you go. Yeah.
But like, when I think the format looks at the generic average.
I think they do pick TCG mid. I could be wrong with that, but I think that
makes sense to me. That's a pretty standard.
Yeah, that's the industry standard. I'd say.
So far.
But yeah, that deck is fun. You get a lot of the good pieces that you'll see next week when we talk about it. But you get a lot of good pieces in there still from like the main Jared deck. So I think it's a pretty mean one. I think it's pretty good.
I think you can also save more money because this is a deck I probably wouldn't mind running without sleeves.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no,
If you want to save a couple bucks on sleeves, there you go.
I mean, I like sleeves. They make shuffling easier.
They do, but it would be fun to riffle shuffle a whole bunch of Magic cards. I never do.
Ooh, I never do that. I don't want to do that. I don't even want to do that with a 1DH deck. It feels wrong. It feels dirty.
Do you know about, while I was researching 1DH, I found do you know Iron Man Magic?
No.
It's the format. You're supposed to play with cheap unsleeved cards or expensive cards if you want to. But the rule is if it goes to your graveyard, you tear it up.
Oh, I have heard of this. I just didn't know that was the name of it. Yes.
Yeah, you just play like a head-to-head match with 1DH decks.
But then
and
what
like,
happens when you bring things back from the graveyard, which happens?
I don't know. I didn't go down that rabbit hole because I knew that wasn't for the episode. So I was like, I'm gonna look this up later. But I need to focus on 1DH and be a responsible podcaster.
It's like
and do my homework.
If in the graveyard you rip them in half, and then like if they come back, like you get to play them again. But if they get exiled, you have to burn them.
Whoa. Yeah, that's fair.
They're just gone for good.
Yeah, and then the store owner comes over. It's like, you're setting off our fire alarm.
Yeah, sorry, it's getting very
Can you
smoky in
please
here.
stop?
This guy's playing his black-white exile deck, and honestly, the fire department are outside.
They brought their commander decks, though, so they're going to join.
Lands, I'll talk a bit more about lands in mine, because
Sure.
We're running out of time right now, but
yeah, let's go deeper on lands next week. That's the beauty. This is one of our first kind of two-parter things. So yeah.
Yeah, this is cool. So yeah, this was good. So Sean and I are going to play these sometime this week. Play our decks, and
do you think we'll have enough to like maybe film some of it and release a little bit of that gameplay on YouTube? I'm happy to edit that.
I don't know.
Let's talk about it.
You know what?
I
don't have. I doubt it. I doubt it, unfortunately. But
Fair
that's
enough.
definitely something that we could talk about in the future. I mean, we don't have a fancy, huge studio to shoot our gameplay videos in, which would be nice. But game nights, looking at you guys.
Love that show.
Yeah, it's
Love
great.
that show. That's the dream. One day to have a game studio. How
sweet.
cool is that?
So anyways, but yeah, that's it. We'll I guess we'll see you guys next week, right?
Yeah, see you next week, gang.
Let's
stay tuned for some Brews news.
Next week it's going to be Jared, so come on back. We'll tell you more about 1DH. But yeah, here comes Brews news. Goodbye.
See ya.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Brews News. I'm Andy.
And I'm Sean.
Today, we have an interview with noted chaos mathematician and somehow dinosaur expert, Dr. Ian Malcolm.
Let's go to Sean for that interview in studio. Thank you, Sean. Here we are in studio with Dr. Ian Malcolm, dinosaur expert, to talk about all the dinosaurs on Ixalan. Ian, or Dr. Malcolm, how should I address you?
Yes. Well, of course, Ian.
Wow. Okay, Ian. Ixalan is full of dinosaurs coexisting with humans, something you have experience with. Tell us, do these colorful dinosaurs do they line up with your idea of what a dinosaur would truly look like?
Well, of course, chaos theory. Lens that, of course, and then, here we are.
So, yes or no?
Well, I mean, tiny imperfections within the universe. Of course, many, experts, would they have things to say as well, and that is chaos theory.
Okay. That's great, Dr. Malcolm. You are the expert after all, so far be it from me to decide what we talk about here. So why don't you just offer some of your thoughts on dinosaurs and how to interact with them, right?
Well, I mean, after millions of years, and here we are.
Well, I mean, I certainly wouldn't. I wouldn't, venture, to understand the nature of other beings. So I would say, absolutely.
Do you mind if we establish a gesture or something that says when you're done answering a question? Can we have that? Can we?
Well, of course. Well, there are many throughout history.
Gestures, yes. I'm thinking of one I'd like to make right now.
As of whether it's someone who is comfortable or not, then I would say
yes. Can we?
I mean, there is some things
that we do.
That we do.
Yeah.
And there are endless mathematical possibilities.
Okay. You know what?
So, therefore, I would say
Quitio.
Yes.
Dr. Malcolm, I have so many questions for you about dinosaurs. You've not answered any of them. You just keep talking about chaos theory, but you're not saying anything.
Hold on. Dinosaurs had their shot. Okay. And the universe said no way, and Ixalan had its shot, okay, and therefore we have
dinosaurs living with merfolk,
living together.
Yep.
Total chaos.
Thank you, Dr. Ian Malcolm, for joining us in the studio. It has been an honor to have you talking about dinosaurs and chaos theory and I guess gestures, I'm not even sure. Back to you, Sean, in the studio.
And now here I am talking to myself. That is chaos theory.
If you want to contact us, I'm at Sean Tabaris.
And I'm at Andy Holbone.
Send us an email at commandersbrew@gmail.com.
You can find out when we go live on Twitch if you follow us at twitch.tv.
And if you care to support us on Patreon, check us out at patreon.com.
And you can find our deck list on tappedout.net.
And if we forgot anything, commandersbrew.com.